Okay, so we are live. So I actually promised today to actually come live to discuss some of the issues. The issues to see how do we solve some of the Nigerian problems, how do we find some of the causes, and how do we bring solutions to some of the Nigerian problem. And one of the issues that is confronting us now is the growing debt in Nigeria. And though Nigeria is not the only country that is immersed in debt, it's of particular interest to us for two reasons. First, because we're Nigerians. The second thing is because um, Nigerians' own case is very, very, very pathetic. Now, we have to look within ourselves. Why should we borrow when we have the means to which we can actually finance our budget? So, why should we borrow? And then I talk about the issues that we'll be discussing. Some of the things. One of the issues that we'll be discussing. I talked about or we'll be discussing the need to spend less. The need to spend less. I talked about the need to have multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of income. I talked about the need to have policies and policies that are actually beneficial to us, that do not put us uh, you bring that are fair to us, not you bring policies. You don't say you want to bring free trade policy where you not allow anything to come into the country. No, you want to bring policies that are fair to us. And then I also talk about the issue of dealing with in the integrity of the staff and all that. So let's talk about the first thing, then talk about the issue of investment funds, investment funds. So this is a live stream. It may be long or it may be short. We want to discuss three issues. We don't just want to come here and we don't want to come. I'm not an entertainer. I'm not here to actually make you laugh or whatsoever. So let's talk about the need to actually spend less. So what is debt? You have debt when what you are getting is more than what you're receiving. So we have to actually look at Nigeria. What has been the cause of the debt? Because our spendings have been more than what we have been actually be able to produce. One of them is the issue of governance. One of them is the issue of governance. And then the other thing again we have to look is the inefficiency of government enterprises or enterprises. So let's talk about these two things. The causes governance in Nigeria. Governance in Nigeria today is very, very expensive. Nigeria operates three tiers of government, as you already know. We have the federal, we have the state, and then we have the local government. I'm sorry. And then we have the arms of government in Nigeria. Talk about the judiciary, talk about the executive, then talk about the legislative, which is the Saraki and Co. So the judiciary, talk about Noge or Justice Tanko Mohammed that was removed, that was being installed. Then talk about the executive, the Buharis and all that. Then talk about the legislative. We talk about the man that is there. Okay, so if we sit down and let's talk about the federal, for example, at the executive level, the federal, you have Buhari, you have the president, and this president has media aides. The president has aides at different things. We have special advisor to the president on these affairs and this, that, and all that. And then you have different people that are working with the president on different kind of relations. So we don't even know how many there are, but there are much. That is the president alone. If you talk about the governance, the same thing also applies with the governance because they're also the same thing with the executive. So whatever the presidents have, media aid and all that, personal security matters and all that, the governors also have that. So we don't even that is something we don't even know for now. They talk about the local government people. It's almost the same thing. You have local government chairman. You have this as at the local government level and all that. If you talk about the Senate, for example, which is the executive arm of government, to have 109 senators, and then talk about the Federal House of Representatives, how many of them are there? It's There are much. What about if you come to the state level? We have also state House of Assembly. So the question is, how many of them are there? There are also much. Okay, you now talk about the judiciary. How many of these lawyers are there? There are much. This is governance alone. People who are making policies, executing policies, delivering on policies, and all that. The people who are running the government, they are so much. And it's something that actually begs for question: with so much people running the government, how come these people are not able to implement solutions to move the country forward? These are the things you have to look. So the people, they are just too much. They are just too much. It cannot continue. These are the stops now. We've not talked about the various ministries within the executive arm. Ministry of Sport, Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of this and all that. Then we're not talking about ministry, talking about different areas and all that. So the cost of governance is just too much. The ministries, the aides, the special advisors, the legislators, and all that, they are just too much. That is one of the things. So the cost of governance is very, very high. Then the next thing again I want to talk about is the issue of the inefficiency of government enterprises. The question is, how many of our enterprises are actually producing and contributing to the economy? Can we truly say that our universities are of such standard that we can get foreign capital? Okay, if at best, even if at worst, we cannot get foreign capital, can we really say that without government support, that our universities can sustain themselves? Can they sustain themselves? These are the things we have to look. Can they sustain themselves? Which ministry out there is producing enough to support the government? Are you talking about the Ministry of Transport? Is NIMASA producing enough to support the government? What about LNG? These are water transport now. What about the railway? Do we have airlines? What about the airports? Are they producing enough to support the government? Or some of the times, when we hear that people who want to go and borrow, I'm like, what is wrong with the country? Are people not paying taxes? So these are the things we have to actually look. We have to actually look at these issues. So it's our ministries today, they are very, very efficient. You see people going to work Monday to Friday. The question is, what are they doing? Are we just paying people? Do we just have ministries? Do we just have people in government or people in the workforce who are not producing enough money to support the economy? These are the things you have to look. So the way I see it is some of our ministries, some of our civil service and all that, many of these organizations, they have to be dissolved because they are not producing. They're not producing. The number two thing which look into is the issue of multiple streams of income. No man can stand on one leg. It's not possible. It's not practically possible. He will be hoping. Nigeria is a country where people need to realize that this oil of a thing cannot sustain us. You saw the other day the senator frustrating the bill that they should bring in electric cars. For what reason? That we have oil, and that by the time you do that, it's going to frustrate the economy and all that. When you look at it somehow, it makes sense to the one who cannot see tomorrow. Even if you cannot see tomorrow, at least you should look at the past so that you can take a clue what might likely happen in the future. Change is irresistible. So there has to be multiple streams of income. And that is why I said we should not be electing people who don't whose genesis we cannot trace. We should not be electing those kind of people. When you want to marry a man, you don't just marry a man. You don't just wake up and say you want to marry a man simply because he has bens. You want to trace genesis. What is he doing? Okay, he's doing this. How long has he been doing? You we question things. Who is his father? This and that. So we may say whatever we want to say. The country is not going to progress, except we have people who are sitting down and coming at the table. Do you know that there is enough gas in Nigeria to fund the economy? But we're not exploiting gas in Nigeria. What about gold? What about other resources? We're blessed with over 80 resources. What about our farmlands? We have good season. It's not like other countries where you have snow and the rest. We have good rain. And Nigerians there is human capital here. Are you not seeing other countries trying to come and invest in Nigeria? We have cheap labor. In the US, okay, somebody's working for $10 per hour. And the person in Nigeria, you can literally hire somebody for, let's say, 10,000 naira, which is how much? Around maybe $30 to $35 per month. That is a 30-hour wage in the US. So there is cheap labor in Nigerians. They have that mind to work. So the government have to think beyond. The government have to think beyond oil and diversify the economy. Multiple streams of income have to come in. Multiple streams of income have to come in. If not, we are not going anywhere. There are too many sectors. If the fishermen are allowed to fish in Niger Delta and other places, do you know we have a vast amount of fishes? Do you know if you bring up policies, not the propaganda they are doing, and there are some people who are going from state to state sharing how much to people in the name of trader money and all that. What we think that's not be able to do. That is something that is actually subject to question. We can be food sufficient. We can produce enough power to run the machinery, the industry in Nigeria and export outside the country. Is it fish? Is it rice? Is it sorghum millet? Maize, cassava? Cotton and all that? We can produce so much that we have foreign capital. We have foreign currency coming into the country. It is not impossible. After all, people are flying into space now, and we are still thinking of how do we frustrate electric cars. When other people are thinking forward. People are thinking about flying cars. We are still talking about how do we frustrate flying cars. So we've got to find a way that there should be multiple streams of income flowing in. Multiple streams of income set up by the government and other agencies. Number three thing I want to talk about is the policies. Policies that are beneficial. I see something fascinating among Nigerians. They go outside the country, they see a lot of good things, they see what is being done in other countries. And one of the the worst thing they can do, or will you say the best thing, the only thing they can do, is to come to Nigeria and be agitating for rubbish. If you're not championing, if they're not actually canvassing for feminism, which is debatable, some people may attack me over that, they will be advancing for gay lesbianism in Nigeria. If they're not doing that, they will be championing policies, conducts, behaviors that are against the norm of society. So we've got to have people who will sit down and talk about policies that we actually help the nation. You know, one of the reasons Africa is a country, is a continent, and Nigeria is a country that we don't reason with our head. Rather, we reason with, I don't know what to say. China, for example, is a country that is not involved in fair trade. They're not involved in fair trade. China is a country that wants to export their stuffs into your country, but they don't want to take your stuffs. It's not because the Chinese don't want to buy it, but because the government restricts it. Nigeria has become a dumping bag, a dumping ground for anything. So there have got to be a system to which we find and see how we can develop policies and frameworks that are very, very beneficial to our people. Policies that can help different industries. Policies that checkmate certain kind of people, certain kind of industries. You talk about the network providers in Nigeria, the MTN, the Glo, and all that. There are no policies that is regulating them. That is why they charge exorbitant prices and they give us flimsy excuses. There has to be policies that create an enabling environment for development. And then there has to be policies that suffocate activities that are detrimental to the Nigerian economic health. So there has to be policies. We have to have people who, I don't know what is even wrong with the country, bring bright minds. There are Nigerians who are doing so well all over the world. Nigerians who know what's up. Even it's not even every time you engage Nigerians. There are times you go to other countries or you invite other countries to come. Ask them. There's nothing wrong in asking for help. After all, we as humans, you ask for help. If you are doing something and you don't like the result you're getting, you ask for help. Sir, how are you doing this thing? Oh, this is how I'm doing it. You apply and then you get results. We can't solve, Nigeria cannot solve Nigerian problems alone. We have to seek for help. But it's so unfortunate that the only help we are seeking from other nations is borrowing. And that is disastrous. You know, there are two things. You can either teach a man to fish, and then he can get more fish for himself, or you can be giving the man fish. All Nigeria has been asking for from these countries is fish, borrowed fish, and they will pay back later. But they borrowed the fish, but they didn't even bother to even ask, how do you fish? Because they are not interested. So we want to create policies that enable, that makes the Nollywood industry beneficial, that expands it, that fights against piracy, and puts copyright policies in place and all that. So there has to be many things. I know there are many Nigerians out there. Sit these people down. who have bright ideas, sit them down. It's not even the one I'm talking about. There are people who even have more brighter ideas than what I have. It's very simple. I see Nigeria is a country that does not want to progress. Put a challenge out there. Develop, let's say for example, you put a challenge, you put a price. Submit a research work detailing how to solve this problem in Nigeria. Come up with such policy like this and all that. This. People will produce research work. And there will be a review panel that will review and see everything. People will come and present. How do you solve the light issue in Nigeria? What is even wrong with this country? There should be panels where you bring in students, whether from the universities, whether they are from the high schools, which is the secondary school, whether it is from primary school, whether it is even from the market women or anywhere. Places where people compete for ideas. This is democracy, not the government alone. People, no. Government cannot do it alone. You set up a day, and they enroll for the contest, and they come and present before the crowd. And you will be shocked at the ideas that are popping up. Nigeria is the only country where the government does not seek the help of the people. They are not concerned with the people. They don't seek the opinion of the people. They don't seek the help of the people. That is why you see the problem of insecurity is there. The problem is insecurity is there. Because there is no way you can police effectively if the people are not involved. It is not possible, sir. So what I was saying, create a kind of contest where people go and challenge and contest with one another in terms of ideas to solve problems. So there has to be people who are sitting there and developing frameworks and policies. If not, the country is not going anywhere. I was speaking a lot about policies that can be beneficial. The other thing again I want to talk about is the integrity of public officials. So the first thing, how Nigeria can be debt free, is the integrity of public officials. So it is lugubrious. It is pathetic, and it is sympathetic to see a nation that is bleeding from the current wounds of debt. It is pathetic that certain class of individuals, we have the audacity, we have the inhumane attitude in feeling and continue to loot the country. It is so sad. It is so sad that you see a man drowning, and all you are interested is how do you steal what he has until the man dry out. After all, you are drowning. Let me just take whatever you have. Rather than you go and save the man, you want to take what he has. It is pathetic, sir. It is pathetic. It is pathetic now, currently, with the state the country is, that somebody should have the right, should have the boldness to steal from the country. It is pathetic. I don't know how to describe it. So there has to be integrity from public officials. There has to be integrity, as in, we have to know who are we electing, what are they doing? We have to hold them accountable. You promise X, Y, Z. Have you done X? Have you done Y? Have you done Z? What do you have financially before you came into power? What do you have now? And what do you have after you left power? If we don't do these things, it's going to be very, very, very pathetic. These are public officials. You know, some of the times they are called public servants, but the servants have insulted themselves so high that they're not bigger than us. But these same people will bring themselves so low that they say, "Wow, I am smaller than the one who is a short rat." When they want to campaign to us, oh, this feel so humble, they're very small and all that. They are hypocrites. What will be the end? It will be terrible for them. Very, very, very terrible. So there has to be integrity of public officials. Nigeria has to find a way to which we fight corruption. Tooth and nail. Match fire for fire. Tooth and nail. If not, if we lose the corruption war, Nigeria will never get out of debt. Because there are people that until Nigeria sinks, until Nigeria ceases to exist from the face of the earth, until Nigeria is totally wiped out from the face of the earth, the name now, until it is wiped out, they will loot the country. And they will keep looting the country. So there has to be integrity from public officials. We're spending a lot of time now. How Nigeria can actually get out of debt. Those are the things we're talking about. So we've talked about the need for government to spend less, and we'll talk about the issue of what have been causing the high rate of spending, which you said, which look into the issues of governance and inefficiency of government enterprises like NEPA, PAC, and all that. Then we talk about the issues of multiple streams of income. Government should diversify. And then we talk about the policies that are beneficial. And number 4, we talk about the integrity of public officials. And number 5, now we're talking about the need for investment funds, or you can pretty say private public partnership, and you talk about the issue of socialism and capitalism and all that. So there has to be a way where we have to think like, okay, the government has been trying to provide us power. Now, do you think the government can really provide power? Do you really think the government can provide the roads? How about the healthcare? What about the schools? Can the government fix that? Okay, if no, if the answer is no, should we give it to private? Well, private, they will be efficient because it will be a private entity and all that. But the drawback will be it will be expensive. Okay, how do we find a balance where we have ministries or enterprises that are efficient, and not only efficient but are pretty affordable to the commoner? Because we have to strike a balance here. As long as we keep insisting that the government should be in control of the enterprises and the economy and all that, it will be terrible. As long as there are other group of people who are insisting that everything should be private, the commoner out there will not be able to feed. They will not be able to afford those services. So there has to be a thin line where there's a compromise. So there has to be a system where there will be compromise. And then that's when, once that public-private partnership comes out in different forms, whether it's in the area of agriculture, schools, health, roads, electric power, and all that, it's going to change a lot of things. It's going to really help reduce corruption. Yeah. The reason why people don't really care most of the time is they're like, after all, it's the government. The government didn't come to take money out of my pocket. Okay, I pay tax. I know that it's government money. But I think Nigerians would have risen up if your money, when you there are two things here. If you have 1 million naira and you hear that somebody stole the 1 million naira from you, from your business, you will go after the person. But if you hear that somebody stole 1 million naira from your country, I know. But you refuse. What we fail to realize is that the person didn't steal what was printed. You don't print money. Nigeria could have said, okay, this 2019 project, let us print money. You don't print money. They could have printed money. You don't print money. So there has to be a way where the government, there has to be public-private partnership. Individuals has to be involved in the way people get into the economy. And then number 16, I want to talk about the issue of taxes. The issue of taxes. $33 billion is reported to be missing from the National Pensions Commission. 33 billion naira. Ibe Kashichuku, the Minister of Petroleum for State, cannot explain where $60 billion went into. How come it was lost? MTN were favoring how much? I think $8 billion, of which through means I know that why they didn't pay tax on them and all that. And then they were low bid and all that they were paying taxes. They decided court judgments gave them $40 million or something like that. Do you know how many agencies don't pay tax to NIMASA? Now, how many water bodies and ships that operate on our water bodies that operate illegally? Do you know? Do you know how many things are being brought into the country that are paying down illegally? There is so much tax evasion in our country. Do you know how many wealthy people are not paying tax? How many wealthy companies are not paying tax? And even if they pay tax, are you sure that these taxes are properly remitted? Do you know people are forging taxes receipts? It is very, very, very difficult. And that brings us to the question of how do we solve all this? I have proposed 6 solutions. If you're listening to me, you have your own solution and all that. There are many things. So I want to do a quick recap to quickly end the video. We spend a lot of time. There's a need to spend less. We have to look at what we're doing in different ministries and the different sectors of government. There's a need to create multiple streams of income. There's a need that to develop policies that are beneficial. There's a need for integrity in public officials. There is a need for investment funds and taxes. And number 6 is taxes. Then number 7, then there is a need to create a repayment plan. So Nigerian, the money we are borrowing, they're not doing it OSHO free. It's not an OSHO free money. So we have to create a repayment plan. So my question is, how do you repay a loan? How do you repay money that was stolen? You borrowed the money. It's like today now, you went to the bank and say, bank, I need 5 naira. The bank gave you 5 naira. and then you put the 5 naira in your house or in your account or whatsoever, and then by the time you went out, came back, you discovered that it was stolen. So how do you pay such amount of money? Even the bank, you must pay it because that's not the bank's fault. How do you pay? Did you have money before that you went to borrow? You did not have money. So how do you pay? So you see where the problem in Nigeria is. So we need to create a repayment plan. What Nigeria is borrowing. Nigeria is borrowing to pay what has been borrowed. It is a very pathetic case. Very pathetic. Very pathetic. And it's something like an endless circle, a vicious circle. We are borrowing to pay what has been borrowed. So the question is, how long are we going to continue with this? What has been borrowed, we don't even have enough to pay part of it. That we have to borrow to pay it. And then our own economy now, we still have to borrow to finance it. So we have money that we are owing, and then the economy before us, we don't have anything to finance it. So we need to borrow to finance it, and then we need to borrow to pay. And we're not making progress. We're not making progress. So there has to be a way we create a repayment plan. What percent of what we generate or what we borrow, and because the government, it's like they swore for them to be borrowing, how much percent will be going to borrowing to be paying back those loans? Should we be paying 5% every year? Because somebody will stay in office for 4 years, for 8 years, and we create problems that will last for the next 80 years. Because the way that's going, I don't know when Nigeria will start paying on this debt. So. And you are borrowing from China, you're borrowing from all these countries. Do you know what China is doing to other countries? Look at what China is doing in Zambia, sorry. Look at what they did to Sri Lanka. The internet is there, go and search it. Look at what they are doing to Djibouti and those other countries. One of the days you just hear that the refinery that is not working in Nigeria, you just hear that China just have come and have put it to work. And they did that because the government of Nigeria could not pay back a loan. Nigeria went to borrow 1 billion naira from China. You talk about the whole of Africa, the African countries, they went to borrow $60 billion. The question is, do you know how many leaders of Nigeria, of Africa went there? Over 50 countries. The presidents went there. So you're talking about almost each of them is getting $1 billion. So the question is, those countries, can they give Nigeria, for example, our country, can't we get $1 billion? Is it not $60 billion now that is being lost, that they cannot explain how we lost that money from the deals with international air companies? They're losing $60 billion. That is the money all of Africa are going to get. So then we keep borrowing. So we need to start talking, because the debt, the way they've ruled the country, it has affected our fathers. It's affecting us now. If we continue to affect our children, if we continue, it may also affect their children. So we have to see that it has happened before. Let it end here. So 7 things. Let me do a quick recap. There's a need to spend less, multiple streams of income, policies that are beneficial, integrity of public officials, investment funds, and emergency funds, which is private partnership. We have the need for houses, and then there's a need for repayment plan. So I will see you tomorrow live stream. So what time do we do tomorrow live stream? We do tomorrow live stream 8:30 Nigerian time tomorrow. So thanks for being here. Whether there are 1 person or 2 persons, we'll keep marching on. We'll keep putting out videos. We are patient. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed. Thank you and God bless. Bye.